All right, we are live. We are live, y'all. What's up, everybody? I'm excited today. So, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Kava podcast, you guys. My name is Will. You guys already know I am the host of this show. I am super excited today. I'm super excited today. I have a very special guest. Actually, a really good friend through social media. I was actually on her podcast. She gave me the opportunity. I'm very grateful for her giving me the opportunity to speak on her interview on her platform. So I'm excited to have her reciprocate that and be on my podcast for today. So I'm very excited today. She is one of our Polynesian sisters all the way from, hopefully I'm saying this right, Kauai.
Yes.
Of Kauai. She is a podcaster and a great public speaker, and she is a boss, y'all. She is a mom boss. She's a boss. She's doing big things. So I'm very happy and excited to watch her grow in her own journey. But I'm really excited for her to be here today to share that with everybody that's watching on my podcast. So just want to give a special shout out to her. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm very grateful. And if you're watching this for the very first time, thank you for tuning in. Thank you so much for watching. Please show some love and support. Please like and subscribe to my channel. And everybody that's been watching all my videos, showing me so much positivity, so much love. Thank you so much for the love and support. It really inspires me to keep doing this and keep going on my own life journey. So, but let's get back to the podcast. Let's have her introduce herself real quick. So it's all you. Go ahead.
Hi. Well, first of all, thanks for having me on your podcast and for being a guest of mine. Hi, guys. Aloha. I'm Deslynn Jaquias. I'm from the island of Kauai, one of the Hawaiian islands. I have a podcast called Healing with Aloha, which I launched in 2019. The premises of the podcast was my sister passed away unexpectedly back in 2001. And it was on my heart to do a podcast. And I did it I waited 3 years just because sometimes you can doubt yourself and feel like, I don't know if I'm ever ready, but I learned you'll never be ready. So the podcast is in memory of my sister and to give hope to other people that although you feel alone in what you're going through in life, you can make someone else feel loved and other people love you. And so I talk about grief, mental health, and self-care. I'm a proud mom. I have a teenage son, and I'm divorced. So I went from being a stay-at-home mother to becoming a divorced single mom with the help of my grandparents and my parents and my big family. My son is one of 40 grandchildren, great grandchildren, and I'm one of 24. We've learned to just adapt. Being back in Hawaii, prior to coming back to Kauai, I was living in Japan. And so I'm just grateful to be here and just to encourage you guys. So, yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for joining in. I'm very excited. I'm excited to hear your life story. I really appreciate you for everything you do. But I guess we'll get this started. We'll get the podcast started.
Okay.
So I guess the very first question I'm going to ask you is, how did you grow up?
Okay, so how did I grow up? I grew up on a small island. This island is small, Kauai. I have an older brother, older sister, and a younger sister. And not fortunately, but I had good memories to a degree. Like growing up, we would walk around the town and go swimming at the beach, jump off the bridges. We used to go to this theater and watch Bruce Lee shows, kung fu movies.
Yes.
So
Bruce Lee.
I love Bruce. I love Bruce
Kung
Lee.
Fu. A lot of people don't know about the Kung Fu. Those Kung Fu,
Yeah.
old 80s and 90s Kung Fu.
80s, 70s and 80s. So it's like, Will, what are you? And so, I just grew up hanging out with my siblings and the cousins, and go driving to the beach and just going on long rides, surfing. I was a beach lover, but my dad taught us how to surf and whatnot. I didn't. I'm the drowner, guys. I'm the drowner. So I stick to the land. But yeah, so then I grew up that way. My grandparents were very instrumental in helping my parents raise us. My Hawaiian side, my grandmother, she lived in this island, but she also lived on the big island, Hawaii, with the volcano, the active volcano. Mm-hmm. And so I would go between islands to go visit with my grandmother. But yeah, so I grew up just going to the beach and just we go camping a lot. But in the midst of everything, I had a strong foundation, but one of my family members struggled with their own personal challenges with alcoholism and drug addiction. And so although I have a lot of love, I did have to deal with someone who struggled with that. And in the process of them struggling with their addictions, they would struggle with anger. And so that shaped a lot of me being so fearful, me feeling like not good enough. And like when you're around someone who has so much anger in them, when you make mistakes, you just feel scared to make mistakes in life.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of like when I was in second grade, there was a hurricane that hit our island. The house that we lived in was completely like destroyed. And so we had to move from one town to another. And then literally like 10 years later, another hurricane hit. And thank God our house we lived in was okay. But
Okay.
so I've gone like without water, without electricity, like everything. And so I learned at a young age that, you know, having your help and just having each other is valuable, because life happens and like you go through like a natural disaster. It makes you like realize what is important and what isn't important. But yeah, that's pretty much like how I grew up. I'm one of 24 cousins, and my mom is one of 7. My dad's one of 8. So we multiply.
Nice. So, I know, you know, I've had a chance, you know, to get to know you before on the podcast, and I have a chance to follow you and listen to more of your life journey. And I know, you know, you are a public speaker, a podcaster yourself, and you know, you talk about a lot of self-care, self-growth, self-happiness, right?
Yes.
And you know, and I believe at some point in time in our lives, everybody goes through that. We all go through our own self-love journey. We all go through our own, I guess, self-care journey to figure out like who we are.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter who we are. I believe this is what I believe. It doesn't matter who we are. We all want to be happy at the end of the day, whatever that happiness means for you, you know, but we all want to be happy at the end of the day. And also God wants us to be happy. I just want to say that everybody, you know, our Heavenly Father loves us. And as much as we loves us unconditionally, and he wants us to be happy, but that part of life is like, we have to figure that out. And that's our responsibility. So I always believe that, you know, I'm very interested to hear, because as beautiful, as great you are today, I feel like, you know, there's always experiences that shape us. And not only the good times, but especially, and if if you've gone through your own self-love journey, you already know this. It's everybody that's listening. It's always the struggles and the pains that we go through always makes us become stronger individuals. I wouldn't be who I am today. Just, you know, as much as of all what I've went through in my life, as painful as it was, but looking back at now, hindsight, you know, I'm glad I embrace it now, because I wear it proudly. I talk about it proudly, because I know for a fact that I wouldn't be this type of person and the qualities I have when it comes to understanding and love and compassion if I didn't go through those experiences. So I just want to ask you, I'm very interested to hear your journey. I think you can definitely add in, resonate with a lot of people that's watching. Can you talk about certain experiences in your childhood? Because I feel like our childhood has a big impact of who we become later on in life. Can you talk about, certain experiences in your life that you felt like, you know, it was your struggling moments as a child, but it allowed you to grow, and it changed you, changed the perception, perspective. But, you know, however that process of change became, but, you know, can you talk about those experiences that you went through as a child that you felt like had the biggest impact to who you are today? And I feel like I want to just, if you don't mind sharing that with everybody that's watching.
Yeah, sure. My mom is like been like the strong. My mom and my grandparents, my mom's parents are like the biggest foundation for me growing up, and I have my dad in my life. So my mom kind of like, my grandparents were like always loving, always kind. So they really taught me love. Just not necessarily what they said, is how they lived and how they treated us with respect and dignity.
Mm-hmm.
So when they passed, they were 82 years old. They were consistently loving, so no matter what I was going through, they were always my safe place.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom is, my grandfather instilled in my mom courage and fearlessness. And so although like I tended to be a little bit more insecure, not as confident in pursuing my dreams, my mom would be like, no, you're going to do it because that's what you want to do. And she would always like be the biggest cheerleader and supporter for me. But because I had one family member that struggled with alcoholism and drug addiction, they use a lot of profanity. And in those phrases with the profanity would be, you're so stupid and dumb. And so when you hear that narrative, that voice, like growing up your whole life, you doubt that you're smart. You doubt that you're good enough. You doubt. And I didn't feel confident. Like as much as I had that foundation, I still felt insecure. So when the first hurricane hit, I was second grade. I moved from one school to another school. I'm Filipino, Hawaiian, Spanish, Chinese, and there's not a lot of kids that were mixed race, like that type of mix.
Yeah.
And so I to them, I look weird, I guess. And you know what I mean? Like, okay, like what is she, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but yeah, so, you know, everybody was cool with the other school. Like I love my friends over there. And then I moved over and I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Because I was always taught to be nice, you know, like be nice, don't tease nobody, but I'm getting teased. And, you know, now I look back, I'm like, I should have told my mom. I never told my mom because my mom would have beat up the parents or something, you know? And so, yeah, so like I have naturally curly hair. They said I was Medusa.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I was like, hey, that's me, you know? And then they said my nose, they said that I look like a gorilla. Oh, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, like, it's my fault God pushed my nose down. I don't know, you know? And then they tease me because of my lips. And they said I had like chocho lips because my lips are big. But now people do Botox to get my lips. I'm like, okay. Yeah. So I just had this view of myself that I was so ugly. Yeah. You know, and already I'm being told I'm stupid and dumb by this person who's having their own struggles. And then now I'm being rejected, you know? And so by the time I got to middle school, I was like, nah, I'm just ugly. Like I must be like really ugly, you know? Yeah. And when you go to the middle school campus, it infuses other schools from other parts of the island. Yeah. And all of a sudden you meet other boys and girls and they look different. So, you know, some of them kind of like blend in with me, right? I blended in with them. And all of a sudden guys start liking me. And I'm like, me? Like me? Like, you know, because I didn't feel that way. And so that the being name called, the verbal abuse shaped me into not being confident in me as a person, not feeling intelligent and not feeling beautiful. And then coming across kids who can be so cruel and insecure. I mean, maybe they thought I did look good, but then they were teasing me because that's the only way they know how to communicate. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I think that played a role. And so what happened was middle school was like trying to figure myself out. It was hard because as much as people started to want to get to know me, it was weird, you know? And then when I got to high school, my dream was always to be a cheerleader. But I was like, oh, I don't know. I wanted to be Paula Abdul. You know Paula Abdul?
Yeah, the singer.
Yeah. So back in the 90s, Paula Abdul was teaching the dance choreography. Oh, she was the choreographer for Janet Jackson in her music videos for MTV. Yeah. And so my dream was to be exactly like Paula Abdul. I wanted to be a cheerleader in high school. I wanted to be a Los Angeles Lakers cheerleader. And then I wanted to be a professional dance choreographer. Yeah. And so when I went into my freshman year, I was getting bullied by girls from the grade above me. So then I just like, I was like, like if it's not one thing, it's another thing, getting knocked down. But so when I tried out when you're a freshman, you have to try it for cheerleading the year after. This girl threatened to beat me up if I tried out for cheerleading. And I was so scared. Oh, wow. And so of course I went home and I told my mom. Thank God I told my mom. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to try out anymore. She's like, why? Because they put a note in my notebook. They didn't even put their name. That's all like lame. And they threatened me. And my mom was like, well, I'm going to go down to the school. I'm like, oh, no, don't go to the school. But my mom was like, because she knew that was my dream. So then she's like, no, you're going to try out for the squad. And so I got on the squad and I was a cheerleader for 3 years. But having the influence of a coach and then building my skills as far as like being a leader as a cheerleader, dance and stuff like that, competing every year, you got to learn all this stuff. it built my confidence. Like I still have to deal with that person who was negative, like in my life, but it was like the dancing and the cheerleading. And then I was a band geek for 5 years. And then I ran track. Like the coaches that came into my life, the teachers that came, they're so consistently loving, so kind to me that it faded out that one voice, that it over like compensated for that. And then I just became fearless. And so
Yeah.
I gained my confidence by doing what I loved, which was dancing and cheerleading.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Man, kids can be so mean.
Oh my gosh. I hope he wasn't mean. No.
Yeah, I was a quiet. I was really, really quiet.
Oh, really?
As a kid. Sorry, like I barely spoke at all. That's why I speak a lot. That's why I speak a lot now, because I say that
pent up energy. Last time.
Yeah, making up for all those times. I was so afraid to speak. So it's just crazy how life works out, right?
Yes.
But I do want to. But thank you for sharing that. I feel like a lot of people listen to it, and we all have our struggles in our childhood, and thank you for sharing that moment about your life. But I do want to bring up a couple of things that you said. I feel like for a lot of people, it's as Polynesian, or it doesn't matter what family dynamic you are in. So I know you mentioned that you grew up in a household. There was a lot of abuse, like alcoholism and drugs. So I know and you said that about having that safe place and taught you love. So can you talk about, like, because I think one of the hardest things about growing up as a child, especially if you come from a really difficult home, is understanding love and what that means, especially if it's not shown in the right way or in the right manner. Yeah. So I feel like that if you grow up in a home where love is not expressed in its pure essence of what it's supposed to be, then that's teaching a different type of love growing up, and that can also affect in everything in your life when it comes to building relationships, when it comes to dating, when it comes to everything toxic, right? Because like you said, like the first step in self-love is to love yourself. Yeah. And if your definition of love is opposite of what the definition of love is, with pure in the essence love, then you can really affect you. So can you talk about that growing up, seeing that? Because I know there's a lot of people that watch this and probably have their own experiences from their own home in growing up now as they're living, or in the past. But can you take me back to when you were growing up, and then you saw all these meaningful things happen to you, and then you're like, wait, these are people that my parent, like my family members that were like, these are people supposed to be I protect you, and I love these people, but why are they why are they doing these things to me, causing me pain, causing me suffering, and then that can cause a lot of confusion as a child, when it's coming from the very people that's supposed to protect you. So I know a lot of people always bring this up to me when they talk about it, but I'm interested to hear your perspective or your own personal experience growing up, but trying to figure out what love is.
Well, I felt, first of all, I felt anger.
Yeah.
Because I felt like I didn't do anything like wrong.
Yeah.
Like why is it that you hate? Like I felt hatred.
Yeah.
Like I didn't feel love, because like when you're getting corrected, there was no, hey, let's talk about this. This is what's going on. It wasn't. It was like hit. You know what I mean? And when you're a child and you're trying to learn and understand, and there's not even that opportunity to talk about it, and then it's just whack. You know what I mean? You fear making mistakes. And so I was mad and I was broken, because I didn't feel like I would ever be able to keep up. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to let people into my life, because I felt like if you really knew me, you didn't even like me. But it wasn't even me. It was just your perspective of yourself is gauged upon someone's treatment of you, who you're supposed to trust, who's supposed to watch over you. But then because they're not, what is the word? Like they're not thinking straight because they're involved in certain things, then they can't. Like I said, I did have family members who are consistently loving and safe for me. But when you're exposed even just to one person, it plays on your mind because you're like, if you go this way, you can get in trouble. If you go that way, you're going to get in trouble. So it's almost easier not to do anything and not want to be happy, because you feel scared, like, oh, if I try to be happy, it's going to get taken away. And so that's kind of like how I felt. Like I got used to seeing someone like that in my life, being so mean, so hurtful because of their addictions and their abuse on themselves, that when I look back, I latched on to men or boys, teenagers, as a teenager, that kind of had like similar qualities. Like they look on the outside, they look different, but then you look back, they're like emotionally unavailable.
Yeah. And because of, I guess, a lack of love that you're trying to seek it from other people, and then regardless of what that form looks like.
Yes.
But if it's unhealthy or healthy. Did you ever, and I know you did mention that you always get hit because there was no communication, but was there ever at some point in time in your life that you try to voice out, or you try to ask, you try to express yourself, you communicate with them what you were feeling? Because I know in the Polynesian, sometimes as Polynesians, like, that's non-existent when it comes to communicating our feelings and trying to having healthy communications. Was there a point in time? Yeah, what I ask?
Like for that one person, not really, like maybe like moments, but because I know like it's more fear. Yeah, you fear being hurt for speaking up. So say nothing, and then when I did, it came out like more out of anger and attitude. And then what happened was there was a backlash. I can only remember like a couple of times that I did try to, and there was a backlash. Other than that, you just keep to yourself, no say nothing. You just hide. Because you don't want to do a confrontation with that person.
Yeah.
Which sucks, because then you just feel like, I can't be myself.
Yeah. And of course, like at that point in time in your life, like you had no idea to like understand the feelings and everything, right? Like all
you're just you're a child. When you're a child, you just like, what the hell is all of this? You watching the TV, you see you see like Leave It to Beaver, Brady Bunch, all these TV shows, mainstream, and you see mom and dad, and everybody's happy, and then you're like, I'm not happy. How come I can't have what they have on TV?
Yeah.
But then it's unrealistic, because it's like, it's too polished. It's too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like, growing up in an islander, like you don't see anybody on TV who looks like you.
Yeah.
So then you're confused. Like, okay, like I guess this is it. And you accept your reality as truth, and like this is how. And then you get older, you become an adult, and you surround yourself with different people, different faith, different lifestyle, and you realize, oh, that wasn't positive, that was unhealthy.
Mm-hmm. And if and I know you mentioned you had a lot of mentors and coaches that they had a big impact to who when you were younger.
Yes.
Did you ever open up to them, like fully open up to them, or was it just like they just saw that you were just struggling?
I never did. I just kind of like leaned into them with the sports, because I was a band student for 5 years.
Yeah.
Now just talk about like, I felt safe that I could just be a kid, just be a kid. Like I can just study, do schoolwork, join clubs, and just I was one of those people who just got so involved in school that I didn't have to be at home.
Yeah.
I lean more into positivity.
Do you still know those kids now? Those kids growing up back in the day that made fun?
You know what? I try to think, because we're all close. Like the classmates were kind of close. I'm like, I forgot already who it was. Yeah. That's so funny. I never thought about that.
Did you ever go to your high school reunion?
I did. Let's just see, like it when I became a cheerleader, like things changed. And then because I danced, I competed every year for dance competition against other classes, and so I think my skill level like proved like what, like it was cool.
Okay. And then when you went to your high school reunion, was it cool and everything?
Oh yeah, I dated. It wasn't a problem. People were accepting of my looks.
But that's good to know. People have grown throughout the years. That's
Yeah,
good to
no
know.
more Medusa jokes.
That gives some hope to mankind.
Guys, there's hope. Yeah, there's hope.
People can't change. That's good. That's good to
Yes.
know. All right. So, so I'm interested in, I know you talked about your journey as a child, and then now you're growing into adulthood. I'm just interested to see, at what point of time in your life did you figure out, okay, what I went through is, clearly I need some things I need to work. There's some things about myself I need to work on. Because I feel
Right.
like you said, as we mature in life, we realize we have a different perspective now. We learn
Yes.
about things. We have the knowledge of learning about the things that we went through. So now you have an informed opinion of what you need to do for yourself for your own happiness. So can you talk about that period of time when you started to learn about the things that happened to you and realizing, oh wow, like I got a lot of shit.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I got a lot of shit to within myself. I gotta figure out, because if I don't figure this out, then my life is gonna be very painful moving on. So can you talk about that period? Because I feel like a lot of people need to hear that. Yep.
Yeah. So basically, where I am now, like there's only a little over 60,000, well, maybe over 65,000. But back then, like when I graduated high school, the class was like 236. Like that's how big the class, which is small, but at that time it was considered big at my high school.
Yeah.
So I went to college 1 year here after high school, and then I left. So I live on one Hawaiian island, and I moved to another Hawaiian island called Oahu, which is like the LA of Hawaii.
Gotcha.
Honolulu.
Yeah.
And so when I went there, I was able to meet a Samoan girl, and she introduced me to this church that I went to. And I remember her, like we studied the Bible, because I believe in God. I got baptized multiple times, different religions and stuff like that. I know, embarrassing, guys. And then so I actually, for the first time, I really studied the Bible. And there's a scripture, I don't know if you know it, it's called Jeremiah 29:11-13. For another plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope in the future.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And when I read that, I cried, because it says to not harm you. When you grow up around people who you're supposed to trust hurt you, it's like to see that, like right there in the Bible saying not to harm you, it was profound. And then to give to not to harm you, but to give you hope. And that meant everything to me. Like I just wanted hope that, like, despite all of that, I can have a better tomorrow. And so I learned people could still love me even if I shared my truth about the things I held in. Like, I don't know if you ever heard the phrase "fake it till you make it."
Yeah, that's so toxic.
Yeah,
I hear I hear that all the time with like the younger people, like fake it till you make it, y'all. Like, no, that's
yeah. No.
I feel like I believe in faith it till you make it.
Yeah. So, well, as a cheerleader, you gotta fake it, because sometimes when you're standing up there and you blank out, you gotta act like you know what you're doing, even though you don't.
Oh no, I get yeah. When the people say fake your happiness, I feel like that's
no,
yeah,
don't fake, no, yeah.
Yeah.
When I started going to that church on Oahu, everybody was like being loving. I was like, whoa. Like I ended up moving in after I got baptized and moved into like with roommates. I would literally, guys, wake up and look around to make sure it was real, because it was so peaceful.
Yeah.
And there was no arguments. It was weird. And like I would cry happy tears, because it just felt good to have peace.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because when you're always feeling like you have to like make sure like you don't say nothing wrong or do something wrong because you're gonna get disciplined for it. Like it's like, like it wasn't like that all the time. It's just when you go through it at a young age, when you become an adult, you still feel like you can't make mistakes, because people are not gonna like you and stuff. And so I learned that people would still like me and love me, even though they knew my truth. That was imperfect. Like, oh my gosh, I'm imperfect, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, and what did you do? Like, how did that manifest itself? Like, what, like, over you, the things you can you talk about the things you did for yourself personally to start to grow, to learn, to progress.
I had to read the Bible and have like my daily walk with God. I wasn't perfect, okay? But like, read the Bible, find scriptures, and write out, journal, pray, and allow other people to pray with them and to have them share scriptures with me, because I really didn't understand. I felt like God was like the policeman. I mean, I have friends who are nothing bad about policemen, but I just felt like God was just there to, you sinned. There you go again. Like, oh, right. And so you just feel like, oh my gosh, the church is going to fall on me kind of thing, you know? And so what I learned is that God's love is unfailing, and there's grace and mercy. And when I got it, I was like 19 or 20. And so it's like, oh, it took me all those years to finally see God in a new light. And that's what gave me hope, that I don't have to continue like feeling like I gotta hide my life or hide the things that was going on the back end. You know, like I don't have to be like all together. Like I can break down and cry, and people are not gonna abandon me. And so praying, reading my Bible, and surrounding myself with people who supported me. And I wasn't really around my family, because my family's from one island and I moved to a different island. I had my siblings, they lived there, but at that point we're like in our 20s. So everybody had their own, you know, like agendas. But I honestly spent time with people from all over the world, like, you know, like the mainland, American Samoa, Western Samoa. So by the way, I'm Hawaiian, but the people who had the greatest influence on me when I was in my 20s are people who are Samoan. The Samoan culture.
Nice.
Yeah. Happy, jolly people I sing karaoke with. Yeah. Being around loving people in the church is what helped me to put my guard down and to trust people.
Yeah. No, it's funny how you when you mentioned that you always thought that God was like a policeman.
Yeah.
That's funny. Like that's how I felt about God early as a child. When I think back on my life, because you know my dad's a pastor.
Oh, really?
So so he's very strict. He was very strict. And this is how the gospel was taught to me. I was laughing about it. So this is how the gospel was taught to me growing up. And if you guys are Polynesian, you probably went to the same gospel training, but he was like, you know, if you sin, you know, if you follow the scriptures, the commandments, you go to heaven. If you sin, you go to hell.
Not like
it just that's how it is. If you sin, you go to hell. You know, and that's how my parents drilled that. You know, like and I always felt bad, you know, making mistakes. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna go to hell. I'm gonna hell. I'm gonna go to hell. There's no salvation for me. And I remember growing up as a kid, like throughout my whole life, I was always afraid of making mistakes, especially, you know, when you don't follow all the customs of the church, right?
Oh yeah.
Like making sure we Sunday's a holy day of not watching TV, and those
really
things.
Wow.
Yeah, because that's how our religion. We're not allowed to watch TV on Sunday. We're not allowed to shop on Sunday, and then fasting, all that stuff. So whenever time like of course, I came to America. I just realized, oh, the culture is different here. They have, NFL Sundays on Sunday. I love football.
I don't understand.
So I remember I used to struggle with that, and like just constantly like overstressing myself and so hard on myself when I make every single mistake, because that's how I was raised, in a household where every single mistake was spotlighted. More than it should have been. Even no matter how small it is, it was treated. Every mistake was treated like the same level of intensity. And I just had a really bad relationship with failure. When I failed, it was always a negative. And I guess like part of growth is accepting, embracing your failures, and learning from it, to move on from it and not hold it in.
Progress,
and dwell on it. And that's one of, and also as I grew, I also changed my definition of, when it came to my perception of God, because I always saw God as a punisher.
Yes.
Right?
You're scared. You're You're like, no, I don't want to sin.
I remember I used to when they used to drink and smoke, I used to like, oh, don't punish me. Don't punish me. But I want to do this right now.
Let's just say I lived it up in high school.
So like,
I needed Jesus.
So like I remember that. But then I remember, like, my own spiritual journey and faith and path. I learned that, God is not a punisher. And I learned about the, the love, his unconditional love. And then because I finally understood that, his love for us, and no matter what we do in life, he's always willing to take us back. And because he loves us so much, because he wants us to get back on track. He wants us to live a happy and fulfilled life. And once I understood that type of love, that unconditional love, that really changed my relationship with myself when it came to failure. I was like, wow, like, oh God, he wants us, one of my favorite stories in the Bible is the prodigal son, the story of the prodigal son, the two sons, right? He didn't, when that son that, went and wasted his fortune, when he came back, like the father did not care. Like he was just happy that his son came back. And then once I felt that understood that love from God, I was like, he allowed me to let go of a lot of things in my life that I held within myself, especially when I made mistakes, because I always knew that God had my back no matter what. Yeah. And for a person, as you grow, knowing that not only the special people in your life have your back, but also knowing God has your back, that also allows you not to over criticize yourself and not be so hard on yourself, because you know that God's always with you. And so that's just funny when you brought that up. I was thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, when I finally had that turning point too, was like, God is like, oh, okay, I can turn to God. Whereas before you're like, oh my gosh, like you're like hiding because you're like, hiding. I'm a sinner.
Yeah, I'm a sinner, exactly. So I do want to. I feel like I'm very interested to hear your perspective on this question.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of when it comes to our self-love journey in life, and it really comes to. I feel like you have to. One of my favorite quotes in life is like, you have to learn to unlearn things. All right, because I feel like as a child, when we grow up, there are a lot of things that were taught to us that later on in life you realize as you go older you have to unlearn, because it's not adding value to your life. It's one of the the things that's limiting you. So I want to ask you, just looking back at your childhood, what were the things that were taught, especially growing up, within your culture? I feel like that has a big impact, because you grew up in Hawaii, and then I know within the Polynesian culture. But what were the things that were taught to you that at that time you felt like that was normal? As a child,
it was hurtful.
But then later on in life, you realize, oh, this value, or this principle, of this way of thinking that was being taught to me as a child, it is actually hurting me. It's actually not providing no type of value to my, and you have to learn to let go. And can you talk about all the big ones, like you just had a hard time to unlearn because it was so ingrained in you as a child, but you had to put a lot of work into it to let go?
I think the main thing is what happens in our house stays in our house. So you don't talk about family problems. And then the other thing is stay humble. And so in the process of staying humble, you almost don't want to be ambitious.
Yeah.
Because if you think in Hawaii, you say, oh no, akai maka maka, like you think you're better than other people. So it's like, if you're an entrepreneur, like if you hold to those values, you'll never do anything.
Yeah.
Because if you're starting off, you have to market yourself, you have to promote, you have to come on social media, whatever. But like culturally, you're told like stay humble. So who do you think you are talking in front of people? What, you think you better than them? Or so I get it, like be humble, but then it hurts you because you can't be a business person if you're holding on to that kind of style of teaching. And then the whole what happens in our house stays in our house kind of thing. Well, sometimes the things that operate in your home isn't correct. And that's why you need to get help from people outside looking in to help you correct it, because it's not motivating to you to love yourself. Like, I didn't love myself, like on the front end, I was a cheerleader, but on the back end, I still had a lot of shame and guilt because I didn't want people to know like my whole family situation, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like you hold back, like you do work hard, but there's always that fear. Like, if you knew me, you didn't like me. It just was resonating with me all up into adulthood.
Yeah, that's something that I always see when it comes to. I want to ask you. I feel like that has a big part of why a lot of issues that a lot of Polynesians struggle with now when it comes to like mental health, when it comes to abuse, when it comes to all these terrible things that happen within our community that we know that happens, You feel like that's why? Because I see that a lot, because I've seen that a lot of experiences, not only with friends and people I know, like, where the family reputation is more important than the person that's struggling, or the child's own suffering. Because I know in our community, it's so our self-image is very, very important, because we're very prideful people. We don't want to be seen as weak. We don't want to be seen as broken. We want to make sure everybody on the island knows that we're doing well.
We good. We get them. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see that a lot? Not only with your experience, but just like in general within the population, like everybody is just trying to present this perfect image.
Because we're our island is really small.
Yeah.
And so you ever heard of the coconut wireless?
Yes.
Yeah. So something happens on one side of the island, by the end of the day, it was told on the other side, but a different version of the real story.
Yeah.
And so people don't want to make mistakes because they fear people are going to judge them, for it. When it comes to mental health, it is not discussed growing up. It's not like if you're struggling, what the heck is depression? What the heck is anxiety? What, you know what I mean? They don't talk about that kind of stuff. Just be strong, suck it up. And they don't realize that when you tell someone to suck it up, meaning don't express yourself, don't feel, don't have emotions, you teach them it's toxic. You teach them that you don't matter, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, you're too sensitive. So so you'll have a family and you'll have one or two people who they cry a lot, they're angry a lot, they act out. You'll see it in their actions, their behaviors. And instead of people trying to come to their understanding, what's really going on, they just correct them. You better change, you better stop doing that. But then they don't try to understand why did they do that. And so the hard part is reputation. You don't let people know. Well, what happens is people start self-medicating, start doing drugs, they start drinking, they start experimenting, they get into to more problems, the law and whatnot. And then too late. You can't hide it because that person is full blown into it. But if people would understand that, taking care of yourself in mental health is if someone's saying I'm having a really hard time, that it's okay for them to go see a medical doctor. It's okay for them to get counseling. But depending on each family dynamic, if there's abuse, with the parents, the grandparents or whatnot, there's fear that if I let my child, let my child go and talk to someone professionally, then all that other stuff is going to come forward. So it's a vicious cycle. You can't move forward because you're trying to obey your parents and, no, you shouldn't go, just come talk to me, give me your money. You can waste your time. And why? Just be strong. Why you got to go see somebody else? When someone's telling that, then you change your mind about getting help. But some things in the family is not right, and it's just hard because if there's abuse in families, verbal, mental, financial, I know you did an interview, rape and whatnot. The tendency is sometimes there's so much shame that they protect the abusers, that when someone actually wants to break away from the family, they don't want them to. Instead of them supporting them, they don't, because they haven't taken responsibility for what happened to them and the people before them.
Yeah.
And so, yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that I can never understand, and it saddens me, is, as loving and as God-fearing our people are, and so deep rooted into religion and going to Sunday every single week, and all these cultural values that we have as Polynesians, it just saddens me of the common sense of just, if somebody, especially when it comes to the big trauma, when it comes to rape and especially from a family member, right? For me, it's just really hard for me to understand how can not people just let that happen to a family member and protect, I guess, this the so-called elder, because of that elder has a big reputation within the family or within the community. That's something I don't know, because I don't know how as Islanders, because of just because as an Islander, we're one of the most, for me, I'm trying to sound biased, but Islanders or Polynesian, we're one of the most loving people I've seen. Just my own experience in life. We give so much. We're willing to come together, and I don't know if you've ever been to islander eating.
Yeah, like welcoming.
Yeah, welcoming. Yeah, and then it's then to see that side of us, but then also see that the other side, the dark side of us, also as well. Of how all these issues that we see going on, and no one, either people choose to mask it or hide it, knowing full well of and not understanding what that child or what that person is going through mentally, emotionally, of what has happened to them.
It could be like what I found, because I study sociology and psychology. It could be blind obedience to the elders. I'm not saying it's correct, but it could be like the blind obedience. You just do what I say, not as I like. You just do what I say.
That makes sense.
And then I actually, when I was at my 30s, I attended a workshop for pastors. Somebody had wrote a book about domestic violence in the churches, and how like the scriptures, obey your husband, wives obey your husband.
Yes.
So it's really enforced a lot, but then they don't look at the whole like everything in the Bible, that there's a scripture that says a man is to love his wife, a woman or wife, as Jesus loved the church. Like you don't ever hear that. Well, when I sat in like small groups of people sitting at a table, and it was all pastors, and they're like, okay, everybody on the table, raise your hand if you've ever been exposed to or a victim of domestic violence. And I had a guest with me. It was a female. We were the only two who raised our hands. And there was like about 10, 12 of us on the table. So think about it. Like all these pastors are leading these churches, but they've never been involved in domestic violence, and they're telling these women or whoever's being abused, go back to your spouse.
Wow. Yeah.
And then they're confused, because they're like, I'm getting physically hurt. But what I found, and like it made me have compassion, is that they're not educated. Maybe the pastors, they all have good intentions to help people, teach them about Jesus and God and whatnot. But they end up putting these victims back in the family unit, thinking they're helping them. And in some sad cases, people get murdered because the abuse is so intense that people's lives end. But they were trying to go to the church for safety and for help, but they keep getting told to go back. And so the person, I should go find out. I think I have the book. I should give it to you, or like buy you one and send it to you. But it was someone in Oahu who studied it out about the whole violence and abuse thing. The pastors, they don't really fully understand what is involved in like the vicious cycle of domestic violence, and they give bad advice.
Yeah.
And it puts people's lives at risk. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, wow, that's very powerful. Thank you for sharing that, by the way, for everybody out there. Like, that is absolutely true. And it just shows you like the world we live in, like, because of the lack of perspective and lack of knowledge or understanding that, because I think you mentioned one great point, our parents or the elders within the community, they've been taught in a different way. They were raised in a different way than us. So to us, and to me and you, we might see, okay, not hiding something from hiding something, not talking about problems. For us, that's the norm of what we believe is right and what we believe should be the right choice. Because everything is like this. Everything when it comes to opinion in our choices, it's all subjective, depending on the culture, depending on the society you grew up in. Like I guess, like for example, for the listeners, women here in America, you're allowed to wear anything you want. But then if you go to the Middle East, and you
have to cover up
because they see it as a different. So what's normal here, it may not be normal
in another culture.
So that's I'm great. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was like, man, like, why are we doing this to each other? Why are we not talk about these things? Why are we bringing it up? Because our people are suffering from it. But then you just made me realize to understand that they come from our parents and our other generation. They come from a different time and they come from a different generation where they were
You
taught
don't
that these,
question
you don't
leadership.
question
You don't
leadership.
question elders.
Yeah, right. You don't question elders, and they're right. They're always right. You know.
Yeah. They could be blatantly wrong, but they're not going to claim it.
Yeah,
And sorry,
exactly.
you lucky. They say sorry, you lucky.
And it's sad that, you know, a lot of people have been, I guess, I don't like to use this term, but I guess brainwashed to the point when logic no longer matters no more. You know,
Yeah, like
and,
the intuitive ability to go right and wrong.
Yeah, to, you know, make your, to, you know, to make, you know, to see that if something is wrong is wrong and to make that decision. But because people have been blinded for so long, so now, okay, that makes sense to me, because like, man, why are we doing that? But then, yeah, I just realized now, like you said, like they haven't.
It's autopilot.
Yeah.
You know, like nobody questioning it.
Yeah.
And so this pops up as like, you know, it happened. Okay, just you shove it underneath the rug, but eventually the rug won't pile up. You can't shove anything under. You know, you're gonna trip on the rug.
Yeah.
And so what happens is you have kids, you have grandkids, and they start speaking up because they're like, no, I'm not cool with it. This is wrong. And then that's when you have the older generation, the younger generation, they go head to head and somebody has to compromise.
Yeah.
You know?
We have to figure things out, because that rug, like you said, the body is gonna start coming out.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. And if everybody that's listening, you know, and that's and also I know that's why as a community we retaliate with hate and criticism more than with understanding love. When somebody goes against what they've been taught, they go against the culture, and especially when it comes to the elders, that's why they can't respond in healthy communication and dialogue, because, you know, you and me have grown in this age of understanding and healthy communication and self-growth and learning about perspective. You know, that's something that's a great thing about, I'm so happy about being born in my time, is because I have access now to information, right? Learning, you know, the psychology of people. Like you went to school for sociology, understanding human behavior, and why the crazy people are crazy, and why
right, others
why the good people are good people. And I feel like as a community, I feel like that's something we definitely lack, is like the education, I guess, because, you know, I feel like the more we can educate ourselves a lot more, and the more we are exposed to different things, and then I feel like then we can really see the other side and understand what people are really going through, and then only through that, then we can really figure out the right way to go about it, where we can still build happy people, but at the same time we can still be proud within our culture.
Yes.
Within our culture as well. But that's something that I don't know the answer to. That's why I love hearing different perspectives from different people.
My suggestion, it's just a suggestion.
Yeah.
I believe that kids, when they graduate high school, they should move away out of state or out of country for 1 year. 1 year. Because then, one, you appreciate what was good, and two, you realize what didn't work for you. Because what works in the family may not work for you as an individual, as an adult. Yeah. And you should, as an adult, you should have the permission to make decisions to modify accordingly, to adapt. And so I was gone for 13 years. And so how I lived my life changed, because I was surrounded by people from all kinds of lifestyles, and like from all over. They move, you know, Hawaii people move here. So you come across people from all kinds of cultures and stuff. And so I learned that talking harshly to people, joking around with people that makes people feel less than you is not good. You know what I mean? And so, I had to learn to let go of a lot of ways that, like the aloha part, the respect part, automatic. Like you keep that, but you cannot judge people because the color of their skin. And like in Hawaii, people who tend to feel more prejudice is people who are white or like Caucasian. Yeah. You know, than the people who are from here. Like if you're colored or you're black and you come into Hawaii, we love you. You know what I mean? Yeah. But and so I had to learn to really adapt. And my mom really raised me to be accepting of people, to be kind. Don't ever tease anybody. You know, especially people, you treat them nice, you be fair and whatnot. So she instilled so much in me. So it was easy for me to love people of all races and all whatever. But when you come across people who reject you off the bat, they don't even know you. That was interesting. And so, I had to learn how to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the statistic. I remember I read this a long time ago, but when you're talking about people moving out, because I really believe that's important. Like you need to move so you can move so you can see a different side, different perspective. Because the only way you can truly know what is right is going outside and seeing the world. Because you growing up, you don't know if what you're taught is the right way, or maybe there is a better way. Because I always feel like there's always a better way to do something. Yeah. You will never know if there is a better way if you don't find a way to compare it to something. Because if that's only what you know, then in your mind, it is perfect. And that can be very dangerous. That can be very dangerous when it comes to certain aspects of our life.
And plus too, like, how you look at, like, some people are introverts.
Yeah.
Like they keep to themselves, and then you have extroverts who are more social. Well, if you're that one person in the family who tends to be an extrovert, introvert, but everybody else is the opposite of you, you adapt to them, and then you don't become your best self.
Yeah.
Fully. And that's why it's important for you to break away, even if it's like you move away for 6 months, I don't know, 1 year, like next town over.
Yeah. If you can't go like a different country or state, next town. Yeah.
Yeah. Like next town.
Other side of the island.
Yeah, exactly. You go from the west side, go to the north shore, you go south side, and it makes a difference because, like, I mean, even here, like it's a small, there's smaller islands, but like, yeah, just moving from one town to the next, it's a big difference, and it's good. Like change is good. I think I had to learn that, like before, like I control everything. Like I don't want change because I fear change, right? But change is good. And sometimes you got to be away from your parents and your grandparents so you can identify what works for you and what doesn't work for you. And then you can share with them without having to like retaliate and be so pissed off at them because why'd you do this to me? Like learning to try to understand what happened. Like I learned a lot when I left. I realized in sociology, psychology, there's a lot of things that happened that was wrong. And I remember confronting my parents separately, and it was interesting. Like they did the best that they could, and now I'm a parent. I respect them. I don't think I would want it to happen, repeat history the way it was, but I get it now.
Yeah. Whatever you wanted to share, but can you talk about that when that experience? When you finally confronted your parents, and like how did you feel emotionally as far as like things letting go,
scared?
Because I feel like part of growth, like you have to face your fears, you have to face the things. You can't hide away your trauma, you can't bury it. Sometimes you just gotta face things on, and everybody. I feel like that's very interesting for a lot of people that's watching, because especially with parents, it's really
you don't talk back to them.
Yeah, it's really hard. The Polynesian, it's really hard to talk to your parents because some of you guys probably grew up in the tough islander life discipline. So right. Yeah, even for myself, like for me, it's really hard to have a that type of conversation with my own parents, because I see them in a different light. Even though I'm a grown man now, but I always still see them as I was when I was growing up as a child.
I think I was fortunate in my 20s to be able to talk to them separately because my parents ended up divorcing. Yeah. And all I can say is, if you're going to talk to a family member who struggles with addictions, make sure they're sober. That's number one.
Yeah.
Make sure they're sober, which it might be they're in jail, and then they, that they can't run away from you. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so talking to them when they're sober, and just a little bit, I remember this time, like talking to them and say, what I remember when I was growing up, this is what happened that hurt me. Like giving it into like bite-sized pieces, but acknowledging it, because what I learned was that one of my family members, they didn't know certain events happen, and they apologized, and they said had they known that they would have done things differently. But growing up, I just felt mad, like, why did you let me be exposed to stuff like this? And so now, like, I'm 45. I'm able to talk about different things because, again, be humble. Don't act high maka maka like you're better than the next person or whatnot. But when you're an entrepreneur and you're promoting your podcast, you're promoting your business, you have to be your biggest cheerleader. It's not because you think you're better than people. It's like, I don't have enough money to pay someone to do it for me, so I got to do it myself. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, I recommend, when nobody's around and it's just you and your parent or your grandparent, whoever it is that has brought you the most pain, I encourage you guys to try to start a small conversation with them, because even though you think they know, they don't. They really don't. And to give them the benefit of the doubt. Sometimes people are doing the best that they can at the time, not knowing that it is more painful than helpful to you. And so I reconciled my relationships with my family members that brought me the most pain. And I'm so glad. Like, I highly encourage people to just start that conversation, because when you get kids, because I'm a mom, the things you don't do, it comes out when you become a parent. And you have to somehow, some way resolve it. If your parent has passed away or whatnot, journaling to them, writing letters, going to their grave, talking to them out loud, it's healing.
Yeah, and you brought up a great, I think a powerful thing you shared was like, you said that when you talk to your parents, you said that they weren't aware, and I know we just talked about how our parents grew up at a different time, and a lot of time, as kids, it's very easy to look back and blame our parents. But like you said, like sometimes our parents they don't have the awareness that we have to see, especially when it comes to like.
Hold on. Sorry.
It's all good.
Okay, wait. Hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Sorry, my phone's about to die.
Let me just, I think with my volume, let me double check my volume. Give me 1 second. Let me double check my volume.
I hope it sounds okay, because when I don't have my earpiece, it doesn't sound as good.
Nope, we are good.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I tomorrow isn't promised to no one. And if your grandparents or your parents or whoever was your caretaker, if there's a lot of unresolved issues, if they're sober, guys, I would highly encourage you to initiate a conversation. I did write a lot of letters to my mom, because my mom did a lot of good for me. I wrote her letters of love when I was in my 20s. And I didn't realize that it helped her. Like, she used to be like, she'd cry, because I lived on another Hawaiian island. And sometimes people know that they did wrong, and they feel bad. They live with guilt. And so when you can initiate and forgive them, it takes a weight off of them.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. Thank you. I think that's really powerful. Yeah, because I just reflected on my own unresolved issues within my own upbringing. And I remember I used to hold a lot of resentment, a lot of unresolved feelings that I carried. I guess unconsciously, I wasn't aware, but it always comes up, during the tough times.
Flares up.
It flares up, and then where's all this coming from? Sometimes you're like, oh wow, then you realize, oh wow, I have a lot of unresolved issues. But it wasn't until I realized that that my upbringing and all the elders in my family, that they grew up in a different time, they were taught a different way, and I think you mentioned early in the podcast, like that the love they gave us, it was like, it wasn't, that's just the love they know. It wasn't intentional to purposely hate you. It's just, unfortunately, it's just that's what all they know, and they're gonna. Sometimes our elders would just love us of the type of love they would show, and it's our responsibility to take that, and break those cycles and break those curses.
Because we can't fix the past, but we can love our kids the way we would want to be loved.
Yes. So everybody out there, for me, I just don't want, a lot of people, I know a lot of people are watching this and they have their own struggles and traumas back in their life. I just don't, for me, I'm a big advocate for keeping families together. If there is a way, if there's a possible way you can keep it, if you can talk to your parents, if you can, talk about these issues and heal yourself, and if they can heal and bring it back together, everybody's, entitled to do what they want, but for me, it's just like, I want to keep the family together. I want to keep our communities together. I don't dividing. I feel like it does. But if you do that for your own personal happiness, hey, you have to do what you do for your own self. But for me, as I was like, if there is a possible way to keep the family together, we should try to put effort to it, even though it may be a struggle. But that's my thought about that. I know you were talking about, like, you becoming a parent, having kids for yourself. I'm really interested to hear your perspective on, because I know you talked about, like, looking back at your life and unlearning a lot of things of how you were taught growing up. So I'm interested to hear, like, how do you raise your kids? The type of culture you teach them, the things that you learn from your past, and making those readjustments. Like you said, you decided to change some things, and teaching them something, and making sure that they don't go through what you went through. And I'm really very interested to hear that, of how you raise your family and the type of love you show them.
Yeah, so I was married, and we were living in Hawaii. Then we moved over to Japan, and my marriage was already having a difficult time, and so I thought I would be married, raising my children, and I ended up getting divorced back in 2009. So we moved back to Hawaii because I got divorced. So I became a single parent, and the first 5 years that Dad lived overseas and would only see my son once a month, and so it was hard. And then I took it harder because I felt bad, like I couldn't keep my marriage together. Like, it was weird. Like, I just felt like you know how you try to keep a relationship together, but it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And so I felt a lot of guilt because I always wanted my son to have both parents together. Like, there was times that we thought maybe we could, but it just didn't work out. I taught my son that calling people stupid and dumb was wrong. Like, saying the word stupid and dumb to a person is equal to saying the F word.
Yeah.
And so I was teaching him that on the back end. But my stepdad, when he watches football, he gets a little excited and he calls the players dumb or stupid.
Yeah.
And my son, like, freaked out, like, oh my gosh, he used the D word. I'm like, they're like, what's the D word? Dumb. I was like, oh, okay, it's not all bad. You know what I mean? But I was just trying to, like, teach him to not treat people badly, like, call name calling.
Yeah.
And my biggest thing was, I remember, because you're a single parent, you have to be a mom and a dad, depending on if you're able to co-parent. And I remember, like, disciplining him this one time, and he was crying. He must have been like 3 or 4, and he was crying because I'm normally the happy-go-lucky person, like, hi, da, 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 da. And but because I'm the only one here and the dad lives overseas, I had to correct him. And he's crying and I'm feeling bad. Like, oh my gosh, like, I don't ever want to feel like, I don't love him. So I remember telling him, and I cried, and I looked at him and I kneeled down. I looked at his face and go, no matter how mad I am, I'll always love you. Okay? Yeah. You're okay. You're okay. Because his fear was that I would stop loving him.
Yeah.
Because I felt that way, growing up is like, man, like, I can't be good. Like, I can't be the perfect child. Like, I wanted to just be told, I'm proud of you. You're such a good kid. I'm so proud of you. Like, it never came in my childhood. It came later. Yeah. And so for my son, it's like, I had to discipline him because he's so young. And if, not saying like, like, I would speak to him and I would say, okay, guys, this is your last warning. if you don't do what I tell you, you're gonna spank you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Whereas back in the day, like there's no such thing as warning. It's like boop, like it's like, oh, what the heck happened, And so I made sure like I would be able to discuss things with him. I think I did kind of like hold back a little bit and disciplining him because I felt like I just wanted to be loving all the time and being happy-go-lucky. But I was like, okay, this kid's gonna be big, like kind of like you will. Like my son is like mixed race also. He's like Black, Filipino, Hawaiian, Spanish, Chinese. And I was like, I better like, And so I had to learn a lot. I actually had to learn how to change my tone of my voice. Because I tend to be like, hey guys, what's up, everybody? Like that. Like I have to lower my voice and say, Daniel, when I'm talking to you. And like it took work. And like, I felt silly doing it, but I had to, because he respected me when I'm disciplining him, when I lowered my voice. And so I had to not hold back and just, because I just wanted him to be happy. But I wasn't happy because he was doing bad behavior. Like when he got upset, like he hit his cousin. It's like so embarrassing. Like, the hell, like, why are you hitting? You don't hit.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't guiding him, and this, like, he's an only child, and so he's used to having things his way. Well, when you play with people, you can't have your toy. You can't have their toy and stuff. And so just teaching him boundaries, safe boundaries.
Yeah. And just listening to everything you said, I love the thing that stuck out to me was like the impact of certain words. A lot of children oftentimes don't get to hear. Like you said, like, you just want your parent to tell you that you're proud, that they're proud of you, and they love you. Just know that, because like, I mean now, even though as much as I got disciplined in my life, I remember there was a point in time when I grew up, I told myself, when I have kids one day, I want discipline the same way.
Right.
Like, but now, like, I don't have kids right now, but now I just don't have it in me to do. I don't know if I have it in me to discipline my kids, and because just of how I grew up, and because I just think about it now, looking back, like, like there were times, so I don't know if you can jump on this, but I think we can all relate to this, being kids, being teenagers, that sometimes like discipline doesn't work. Like it won't change it. It just reinforces our behavior. If
like to be more naughty and to just be
like a child, like if you just the only way
you're big, like you will first.
I was skinny when I was a kid.
He's like, is that it?
I was really skinny, and I had a late growth spurt later on in life. I was really small, really brittle little child, but I remember, like, I just remember my own psychology, as a kid, when I used to because our parents don't communicate when we get disciplined, they just hit. There is no discussion of, hey, did you know what you did?
Yeah.
All right. There's no follow-up. There's no explanation. And I feel like explaining the behavior and, and reinforce, that communication from your parent has a big impact to a child, to learn from their mistake and move on from it. All right. But I feel like because there's no communication, you just hit in our minds. Like, okay, I made this mistake, and the only consequence I get from
you're like,
so the only thing I learned from this mistake is, if I don't do something, my parent, I was like, I'm just gonna get hit. That's all. That's the only lesson I learned.
Like your equation. Don't make mistakes.
So I don't learn the part where we have to learn from the lesson. There's no learning, growth or lesson. There's no lesson. You don't learn the lesson of why you made the mistake. The only thing you know is, I made a mistake. My parents didn't agree with, and I'm getting disciplined. So
what happens is, I don't know if you studied psychology, you become codependent on your parent. For me, it's easier to make my parent make the decisions as a teenager than for you to process of eliminate, I should do this versus this. You don't trust your decision making, because you're like, I keep making mistakes, so what do you think I should do? And then you start giving people power over you to make decisions for you. And it's unsafe, and it's not healthy, and then you don't love yourself.
Because I remember when I was with my friends, like, let's go do this, and like, I know, I know about I know my parents. Man, my parents gonna get mad. I was like, yeah, but what's the worst they can do? They just hit you. I'm like, yeah, that's what I saw. I'm gonna get hit. All right, let's go. Let's go. If I get hit, it is. I'm so like I've been hit before. It's like,
right.
you know. But and I guess what's the word? Is that what's the word when you is it catharsis? I don't know what the word is. Like the feeling of
What,
feeling
letting them
bad.
down?
Yeah, feeling bad about what you did. I guess that's what I meant.
Oh,
I never.
guilt. Guilt is
Yeah,
the easiest way to explain.
yeah, guilt. Yeah, but that's I don't know what the
Defiant.
word. Like this, whenever I decided to do something I know I should have done, there was no like I guess there was no empathy to be like, if I do this, I'm gonna disappoint my parents.
Yeah, because there's a different,
yeah. And because there was no empathy or no emotional attachment to my parents or making a mistake, when it came to just living my life, I was like, oh, my parents are gonna get mad I'm doing this, but I'm gonna do it. But it is what it is. I mean,
no consequences.
They discipline me. It is like I'm just gonna get hit. Okay, right. But now, like I feel like if my parents took the time and taught me, hey, you made a mistake, but we love you so much, and we don't want you to make a mistake no more. We want you to do better, and I'm not disappointed at you. I still love you, but you should, this is what you need to do because we want you to be great. We want you to live a great life. And I feel like if you communicate to your child to develop some kind of, I don't know what the right word is. I'm trying to figure out a word.
Well, parenting. Okay, so parenting, old school, any culture, it's like they lord it, like some, not all, but like the generation before is like the parent is right, you wrong.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't care. The parent could be wrong, but it doesn't matter. That's a hierarchy. You just follow the parent's lead, right? But now, when you're parenting, it's not about better than your child because there's so much technology going on. The kid could know more than you. Parenting is basically a relationship between you and the child, and helping the child to discover who they are, and supporting them as they gain insight into what makes them happy.
Yeah.
Like that's what I feel like my job is. Like I have resolved things with my ex-husband. And so he lives on another island, and we talk, like we text or talk, but we're able to identify that our son he's different. He's more like he likes to play video games, but he's really intellectual. He's really smart. Well, the dad and I were very we like to play sports, like we were involved in that kind of way, and our son isn't like that. But we had to find ways to help him to have different, like as much as like the dad wanted him to play NFL because the dad's a Raiders fan, and as much as I wanted him to play NBA because I like the Chicago Bulls, it's his decision, so I put him in sports. I said, okay, the deal is you try it 1 year. If you don't like it, then cool. So he did 4 years in martial arts. He did Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. No, 5 years in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, 4 years in baseball. And then he tried basketball and stuff. He didn't like it. Like he did it, because that's what mom wanted, dad wanted. And then now he got into middle school and changed his mind. And so, for us, it's like trying to figure out what does he enjoy. And he likes to do boxing on his own timing, not in a classroom, And so being a parent is different. It's about getting to know him and what he likes and dislikes. And I allow him to express himself, because it's important.
Yes, I think you said something great. I feel like I think you said like it's parenting is about building relationship with the child, right? And I feel like especially if you come from a very deep rooted cultural family, I feel like and this is just my observation, and if you can jump in, I feel like the parents they don't really take time to build a relationship, especially when it comes to old traditional elders. Because they're like, well, you're my child. The relationship is already there. I don't need to put effort into our relationship because we're already bound by biology, by blood, right? Right? Like you're my son. You should know I love you. I don't have to say I love you. You know I love you.
You see this roof?
Yeah.
That's me. You see that roof? That's me. I love
you.
That's
right. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So as a child, we never hear words of affection, words of encouragement, words of proud. We just like that in our elders' mind, like you should know that already, all right? Because this food,
Exactly.
this house, but but the thing is, as a child, we need those words of affection. We need that relationship. We need that
Well, because
communication.
everybody has different languages of love, and I'm sure
Ex-
you're familiar. Yeah.
yeah, no. I get that now. I get that now.
Yeah.
But
But like
it's
I found out so on my Filipino side, for example, I found out my grandparents, they never said I love you to their kids. My mom died.
Yeah.
But my grandmother, I found out that my great grandma immigrated here from the Philippines. She didn't speak English. So imagine my grandmother's born and raised in Hawaii, couldn't speak to her own mom.
Wow.
Because so what happened was her sister raised her because the sister could speak English and understood Filipino. And so what happened was, so there wasn't that I love you mushy gushy between my great grandmother and my grandmother. So then when my grandmother and my grandpa became parents, they weren't being all lovey-dovey like with their kids. Not that they didn't love them.
Yeah.
Well, when the 7 kids had us 24 kids, because I'm one of 24 grandchildren, we would say I love you so much to my grandparents that my auntie said they started to say I love you only when the grandkids came, because we kept saying it so much, like I love you, grandma, I love you, grandpa.
Yeah.
And they started repeating.
Yeah.
You know, and then we multiplied and there's 40 great grandkids, you know, and so my grandparents had to move into the role of being grandparents, and they were able to say I love you to us, and then they started saying I love you to their kids, but it wasn't taught to them by their parents, and so they couldn't do that for their kids. And then, you know, but yeah, we just like kept saying I love you so much to my grandparents, and they were the most consistent loving people in my life, my whole life. There was like maybe one incident grandma got upset, but I tried to cook the okay, she had a legit reason to get mad. Me and my cousin, we made mud pies in the dirt with the water, and we put it in the oven and we baked it. So
what?
Yeah. So that's the only time my grandma got mad when I was a kid. But really? It was legit because I tried to bake a mud pie.
Did anybody eat it? Unfortunately.
No, it's just
okay. Just hopefully
we turned on the oven and she's like, "What's going on?" You know, and I was like, "Oh, we're making mud pies." Like, you don't make mud pies, so we got spankings. But yeah, that was the only time she. But yeah, like now I look back and I'm like, wow, like I didn't know that they weren't told I love you, and then they didn't say I love you to my mom, guys. But it's because they weren't taught how.
Yeah.
The grandchildren taught the grandparents how to say I love you.
And I'm just trying to apply it to now, because I feel like maybe that way probably worked back in the day when there was like no internet and social media. Yeah. And I feel like, you know, even if your parents didn't communicate, but you know, at the end of the day, you still live at home and, you know, at the islands, right? But I feel like, you know, it's hard, it's dangerous. I feel like now we have to be more communicative, because we have the internet and social media. So that way, if a kid is not receiving that love or communicated that love from their parents, they might go to social media to seek that, right? Mm-hmm. And then and of course when you put yourself on social media, you're putting yourself out there. There's a lot of weirdos out there, you know, a lot of negativity, and that's why I feel like
there's trolls.
Yeah, and then that's why I see a lot of, you know, kids on social media making videos about themselves, you know, and they express themselves, and I can see what the way they express themselves. That's it's a sign reaching, like they need help.
Yes,
you know, you can tell. I mean, I'm sure you study psychology. Like I can watch somebody's video and I can tell. I mean, I'm not 100% accurate. I'm just my own perspective, but I do have a general feeling. Okay, this person is happy, and then watching somebody make a video, whether they're dancing, whether they're posting a picture of themselves, I could just tell that, that this person needs some validation from people, or needs love from people, because they're not getting it from their own home. But it's just, I could just tell. I could just tell, and that's why I feel like
so like social media can be positive and can be negative. Yeah. For me, Instagram has been positive because of what I've been through I lost I lost two family members to vehicle related accidents.
Yeah.
But like as far as dealing with grief and mental health, because I got diagnosed after my sister died, I got diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. There's nobody in real life that I knew that one lost someone tragically and was diagnosed with PTSD. You know, the only time I ever seen it on TV or read about it, it was for people who went through war. PTSD, like it's associated to
the military.
Yeah. And I found out that it could just be one event and you could be diagnosed with PTSD. It could take one event, not multiple one. And so that was 2001. Only like I'd say 3 years ago on Instagram, I started connecting with people about grief and mental health and trauma on Instagram. The support system, people who are very honest, authentic, real, they're all on Instagram. So you can find positivity through social media. You can express to them things you wouldn't say to people in real life because maybe culturally it's not acceptable. But I've gotten more healing from the people I've met online through Instagram than I did when I was just only on Facebook.
Yeah, that's why you know that saying.
That's why I met you. I met you. I seen your TikTok video and you're talking about toxic relationships. And then I clicked to find you on Instagram and I contacted you to be my guest.
Yeah, which is pretty cool, by the way. That's cool. It's crazy how life works. It's crazy how life is, right? So I do want to transition into I want to talk about you, your goals, your purpose, and the things you do for. Like I said, I know you mentioned in the beginning, in the introduction, in the beginning of the podcast. You know, you have a podcast.
Yes.
You're advocated for self-love, for self-care. So can you talk about your journey, which is working on your dreams, and in that journey, because a lot of people, I know a lot of people have goals and dreams and passions, and sometimes there's a lot of things that stops them from taking that step. But I always encourage people to go through it because you will never know if you never try.
Yeah, no, totally. So when I became divorced, my ex-husband is an introvert. I'm an extrovert, and there was things in the relationship that wasn't good. I came out of it as an introvert, and like I was like really insecure. I didn't want people to know me. I felt shame and for being divorced. I didn't want people to know I moved back home. I didn't feel good enough. I didn't feel beautiful. I felt rejected. I felt like the biggest failure ever because I couldn't keep my marriage together. I mean, even though it's a free will if your husband or your wife decides to stay with you. But if there's no loyalty and respect, the relationship's not going to last. I was trying to tell my son when he's in preschool, I was like, you can be anything, and he's like, oh, I want to be a fireman. Oh, I want to be, he said he wanted to be a doctor, helicopter pilot. I was like, yeah, you can do that. Like, heard that one, right? And so while I'm trying to raise my son to have dreams, I realized I had none.
Yeah.
Because I was so busy trying to be a wife. I was so busy trying to be a mom that I didn't have any to fall back on. And right when he was 4, I realized, like, in order for me to teach him, I have to live it. I could tell him all day, like, follow your dreams. But like, if I don't have a dream, like, it's wasted. Because I hated, like, when you're growing up, they tell you, do as I say, not as I do. Like, to me, that's like kind of hypocritical. And so in February 2011, he was 4. Yeah, he was 4. I started a small brand called Kauai Girl, because every time people would say, oh, where are you from? I'm from this island. I'm like, I'm a Kauai girl. I was so proud to be from Kauai.
Yeah.
It's like saying, oh, I'm a Tonga girl, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, so I started this brand, and I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. And I started off just with tank tops, and then I ventured into trucker hats and stickers. And I didn't know what I was doing. And what happened was my son was inspired by it. Like, he would be like, when we'd be in public, he'd be like, Mom, I seen a girl down by the pool area. She's wearing your hat. I'm like, no, for real. Look, there she is, and just his excitement for me, for fulfilling my dreams. Like, that's what kind of like led me forward. But what happened was when I hit the 1-year mark, my dad died unexpectedly also.
Mm-hmm.
And I got depressed, and I was going to stop doing it, because what is the chances you have 2 people you love die from vehicle related accidents?
Mm-hmm.
But I had to like dig deep, because I know my dad would have wanted us to be happy. And so I continued the business and whatnot, but working full time and pursuing your dream and being a single parent is not easy. I did it for so many years. And then I just said, you know what, I got to take a break. So I took a break, like 2018, 2019. I took a break. My grandmother went into hospice care, and I just focused on her. And so I still own my small business. Is just, I'm trying to figure out how to go about it so I can sell product locally, and maybe have a distributor to drop ship for me and print and ship. So all I wanted to say was, like, you can have a dream, but it's okay for you to pause and put it on hold temporarily to take care of your family, to take care of your health. And then when you can, you can shift gears. When I put my brand, the Kauai Girl, on pause, I started the podcast. And it's like, I'm by myself, guys. I don't have nobody doing my graphic designs. I don't have anybody doing the recording. I'm the host. I'm like everything. So I have to like learn a lot about being confident. Like doing a podcast is scary, because you think, oh gosh, everybody's going to hear your voice. And if you don't like how you sound, it's like, oh gosh, they got to hear it. It's permanent. But the reason why I did is, if you lead with love, everything is going to work out. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to do the podcast in memory of my sister, and hope that I can help someone that is grieving, that is dealing with depression or anxiety, give them hope that you're not alone. So when I finally got open about my sister dying publicly, where I shared my life, was when I hit the 17-year mark. And then the year after, that's when I started my podcast. And I don't regret it. When you come across people who are in the same situation you came out of like 17 years ago, you just love them. And that's why I do what I do, is because I felt mad. I couldn't fix my life situation. I wanted my sister back. She was only 23 years old, and I couldn't bring her back. But I realize now that my sister, sorry, I'm getting emotional. My sister, the type of person she lives her life to the fullest, she would have wanted me to be happy. And so if you go into like my social media, you'll see me singing and dancing a lot. It's because my sister was a dancer, and we grew up with karaoke. And like when I dance and I sing, it helps me in my grief and connecting to my sister. And so I didn't feel that way for 17 years. I didn't feel like I wanted people to know she died that way, because I didn't want my truth. I wanted it to say, oh, my sister's still alive, but she's not. And so I took my pain to create a passion to help the next one. So
yeah. And thank you for sharing that. And that was really, really powerful. I love what you're doing. Like this, I remember when you found me, and then I took a look at your page. I was like, I immediately felt the vibes. I was like, oh my god, I felt the positive.
I could be on a podcast.
I felt the positive vibes from you, and you can feel a lot of the content that you make and the videos you make. I could feel the happiness behind, and I also knew that happiness also came with the story, because that's how I always tell people, like whenever you see people like, people always see the results, but people don't see the journey behind what people go through, and so that's, and so when I saw it, I was like, oh, I like the vibes. I could totally, and then when you hit me up with the interview, I was like, oh, perfect, because like I was already thinking the same thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then it's funny, the day I hit you, I remember the day I was going to ask you to get on my podcast, you sent me a message, before
women take a
yeah, it's funny. Like I literally was about to send you, send you it, like, and then I saw that message come. I was like, oh wow, it's just, I said, everything happens for a reason. So, I do want to ask you is, I guess in your success journey, because I know a lot of people have their own goals and dreams. So I do encourage, by the way, if you're listening right now and you have a goal and dream, go for it.
Yes.
And because I'll like, there's certain things, you find happiness in, seeing happiness. Like you find happiness when you do your hobbies, when you find happiness when you get married, you find happiness when you get in a relationship, getting your first job. There's always forms of happiness that we feel we always get from different things, the choices we make in life. So you will never know the type of happiness you will feel by working on your goal and dream, and that's the happiness you're gonna leave out of your life because you never took that step.
Yes.
So I always tell people, I'm telling you, I know they're always feeling a failure and the fear of unknown, but that's life. That's life also. Like when you meet people, you don't know who that person is, but we build a relationship with people. So it's like
you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, start somewhere. Can you talk about and also the thing I want to ask, because I know success, it's not perfect, and I feel like that's something I just want everybody to understand, that we should go into it knowing that there's going to be a lot of bumps on the road, there's going to be mistakes, but knowing that's part of the process, because sometimes people, I feel like they're so overanalyzed to the point, like they what's the paralyzed,
like even try. Yeah.
What's the term? And then, analysis by paralysis. Is that right? And yeah,
No, that's when you eat a lot of good food and you want to sleep.
Yeah, analysis. Yeah, you analyzing to the point where you actually you're paralyzing yourself because you're thinking too much. Sometimes you just gotta go with your heart. Go with your heart. Yeah, go with your heart and go through it. So, can you talk about like the failures, the criticism? I'm sure I'm interested to hear like what did your family think of things you do?
Oh my gosh!
And can you talk about the criticism, what people were saying, and the things you were facing that was trying to like stop you, but you just kept going. You just kept going.
So okay. So first of all, me singing on Instagram or Facebook is not favored by some of my family members. And I remember saying, why are you singing on Instagram? I was like, because I can. It's like, but like you just want attention. I go, no, because I sang in church for 10 years and I just enjoy it. It's my page. Right. Yeah. I've been told from family members that I dream too big, because I have no fear of being vulnerable and authentic about my past and my life. I've been told, who do you think you are, Oprah Winfrey? I'm like, hey, that's a good thing.
Why not?
I've been told to not run my business, my Kauai Girl, the one that I temporarily put on hold because maybe I wasn't doing a good job at it. What else? I just telling you is the bad side, because a lot of times we assume that family supports you. That's why you do what you do. No, sometimes the thing that was in alignment in what was meant for you, they won't like, and they won't agree with. They'll tell you flat out, don't do it. You're going to waste your time. You're going to waste your money. You're going to fail. Well, you know what? It's better to do something you love and fail forward than to wonder if I did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What else? Yeah. So for me, like with the podcast, I don't involve my family with this. This is just my own thing. This year, I'm going to publish my first book. It's going to be, I have a journal. So in order for me to deal with my grief, I started like a diary to my sister. I didn't write in it every day or every week or whatever, but I wrote letters like Dear Kiala to my sister. And I would just tell her like all the stuff that was going on in my life. It helped me to deal with my grief and whatnot. So I'm going to write a book about, I'm not publishing all the letters, but I'm just going to take parts of the letters for my sister, because that's how I dealt with my grief. And then before the end of the year, I plan on doing a short film, or maybe on Vimeo. I'm going to do my first animation, because I legally started an animation. It's called Kainoa Animation Studio last year, because I feel like when you watch animation, it's always Black, white, Chinese, or like you're lucky if you have like that one Polynesian kid in there.
Yeah, unless it's little Stitch.
Yeah. Don't even start me, okay? Because they made us look so all Polynesian, like we're so defiant and disrespectful and fight everybody. I'm like, dude, we're not the real parents. Like, you be respectful. You better not. You know what I mean? Like, it's just. So I wanted to do a spin and to do my own animation.
Nice.
With interracial kids in there. Like start small, like maybe 2 characters or 3 characters, like more like little kids, friends and stuff like that. And I wanted to infuse music into it, like Coming Kings and Analea, and like I just have all my favorite artists and stuff like that. So I just wanted to kind of like how we watch the dance or like the basketball, all those movies from the 90s where they would always have a soundtrack to go with it. I wanted to do animation laying over songs from like Islanders to go.
Oh, okay.
So when you see it, you're like, oh, I like that song. And then it correlates to that. But I also wanted to do short, like maybe 15, 20 minute, like short film kind of vibe. So, but I never tell my family I'm doing this because they don't understand, like, why would you do that? But you know who understands is all the teenagers and all the grade school cousins. My cousin's kids understand my concept, and so you don't go tell your dreams to your aunties, uncles, mom, dad, grandpa. They have no clue of what being a business owner is about, because they'll say, don't do it, save your money.
Yeah.
So trust me, I didn't always have cheerleaders, in my life.
No, it's funny. Yeah, because
you gotta be your own cheerleader.
You have to be, because like, whenever that's why I experienced that the same with my own family. When I decided to go with my own journey, what I'm doing right now. But that's one thing I just realized. Because I hear that a lot from a lot of people. My parents don't support my dream. My family doesn't support my dream. My spouse sometimes, like, spouse doesn't support my dream. And for everybody's watching, you just have to understand that you can never get people to understand something
because it wasn't meant for them.
One of my favorite quotes is like, they will never understand your dream because God didn't bless them with a vision. They can't see what you see. They can't understand what you see, because when you are creating something, going down your path in life, that you know where you're going, you can see the vision, even though you're maybe not there yet, but you see the destination of where you're going. It's really, really hard to. It's like trying to tell somebody about a specific city that they've never been before. They've never like if I go to Tonga, hey man, there's this place called Rome. He has all these buildings, and like they were like, what? Like their whole life they've lived in Utai. We call it the jungle, the island. You're talking about architecture and buildings, and they're like, what the heck? What the? Like, it's their mind don't see that far, And I'm saying that with the utmost respect to anybody. But yeah, certain like people, and like when you have a goal and dream for yourself, some people have never, because they've never gone that far in their own life, they can never understand your dream because they don't see that far. So, and of course,
they're limited.
They're limited. Yeah, so that's why they can't believe and understand. They're like, why? Especially if you're the generational breaker, you're the first one to do it in your family, to break.
Yeah, you're the trailblazer.
Yeah, so yeah, exactly. So if you're the trailblazer and the first one to do it ever, you're always gonna be the one that they're gonna think you're crazy. But then once you achieve it and become successful, then the people come after you. It's gonna be normal now. It becomes a norm. Oh yeah, you can do it because your family member did it before, and that's why. And that's the case. So I just want to say, everybody, go for your dream. I remember I heard this from somebody. I don't know. I forgot who it was. It said that every dream you have in your heart, that that's, I know Denzel said it in a speech. Denzel Washington, my man Denzel.
Right.
He said that he was saying a speech. He was like, yeah, if you have a dream in your heart, that's that is good. It's not meant for pain or for to make other people's life work. But if you have a dream in your life that you feel in your heart that's ultimately good, that was given to you by God. God gave you that to you. And so you should always go into it with utmost confidence, because it's not, it wasn't your dream, it's God's dream. And if God said this is what you're supposed to do, it's gonna work out 100% of the time.
Yes. Even if,
But
honestly, guys, even if you don't have money, like if there's a will, like there's a way. You know what I mean? And you might have to be like real small baby steps, but when you're a baby and you're learning to walk, baby steps is the progress. And you can message me now that you guys are my friends. Okay?
Yeah.
I'll be your cheerleader.
Exactly. And I always, the only thing I liked about, I'm not, I know you mentioned biblical verses before. I'm not a Bible person. I don't read the Bible. I know that sounds terrible.
Surprising.
But the one thing I like about the Bible, the one thing I love is the stories. The one thing I love about the Bible is so much powerful stories. And the one thing I always love, like, when God gave whoever it was, like his mission or what he's supposed to do, if you don't do it, he'll find Jonah, right? Jonah, right? Like, I was just about to use Jonah. Yeah, like when God wants something, he gives you a purpose in life. He's gonna make it happen, even if you avoid it, right? Like Jonah, he told Jonah something to do, and Jonah didn't want to do it, and he had to get swallowed by a fish.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you don't want that though.
Yeah, so that's why I say, like, if you have a dream, like that means, God, that's God's dream, and his dreams will always come into fruition. But of course, like just like faith, there has to be some works behind it. So you gotta put in the effort.
It's a lot of work. Yeah, and sometimes, guys, like if you have a dream, you telling your mom or dad is not the people.
You don't have to. You don't have to tell nobody.
You can work on it on the back end without people knowing. Because sometimes we fear failure, but failure is just opportunity to change direction. That's if anything I can tell you guys, like there's no such thing as failure. It's just constant opportunities for personal growth.
Yeah, exactly. And then I've never done. The only person I've never told my family my goals and dreams. I just went about it. They found out through social media.
What are you doing?
Yeah, the only person I've actually shared my dream is my older brother that's after me. I'm really close with him, so we have and my sister. So we have we have a close relationship. So I share with them because they believe what I'm doing, and they show ultimate, real genuine appreciation, support of what I do. But besides that, honestly, you don't have to share your dream with anybody. You just go about it, and then when you take that path, you attract the right people that have the same alignment with your dreams and your goals and the vision in life.
Don't look at numbers. Don't look at results. Just every day you wake up, just do what makes you guys happy, because tomorrow isn't promised to no one. And when I started my podcast, I started a new Instagram last year, like zero, like nobody was following me. I honestly, because I struggle with anxiety at times, I was telling Will, he didn't believe me. I said, Will, I promise, I only wanted 10 people to follow my new Instagram. He's like, why? God, I don't like people looking at me. I don't want to, I just want to be myself. I just want to be me, and I am me. I am myself. But it's just, I just wanted to help one person through that. And as a woman who has pursued like having a small business, guys, the people, the friendships you make on your way in pursuing your dream, that is the treasure. It's more than making six figures. The relationships, the person you become is powerful, and you teach, if you're a parent, you teach your kids to follow their dream by you living your dreams. And even if you just made $1 just selling like a candy or a greeting card or whatever it is, no dream is too big or too small, but as long as it sparks happiness in your heart, like that's all that matters. Some people do things for free because it makes them happy. But it doesn't have, everything you do that's a dream doesn't have to be tied to money. That's all I can say. Your passion doesn't have to be tied to money. It could just be changing someone's life and making them smile today.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm telling you, there's a lot of things you will never know about yourself if you don't go into that dream. Because I believe whether you have a dream or not, just have something to believe in. And I think that's because I feel like a lot of the pain and misery people go through is because we're stagnant.
Yeah.
People never work on themselves and never improve. So they're always stuck in the same place. I feel like that's where misery and all these things, unhappiness. It's really, really hard to generally be happy if you don't see any kind of improvement in your life. If you're always stuck in the same place.
Yeah.
That's why I think
true.
one of my favorite quotes is like, there is, I think Tony Robbins said it. He said that happiness is progress. There is no happiness if there is no progress. If you're not progressing in any kind of form or way in your life or as a person, it's really, really hard to ultimately be happy. It's just like, if you have a relationship with somebody and you don't see the relationship going anywhere, that's going to be like a broken relationship. So it's the same thing with the relationship with ourselves, relationship with the other people, relationship with our dreams, relationship with our spiritual side, with, emotional, mentally. So if you're constantly doing something to improve something and have something to work towards and to believe in, that can keep you going, keep you moving, especially when it comes to life, because like life is difficult. And go ahead. Yeah, you want to say something?
I just did an interview with a book author in New York, and she got her book got reviewed from the New York Times. She said that when she was trying to figure out what her dreams are, she went back as to think, when I was 5 years old, what did I want to be? And so, like, although we're adults, there's still that inner child from when we're little that we have to always nurture. And so if you're trying to figure out like, oh, what do I want to do with my life? Think back, like when you were 5 and there was no limitation to your dreams. Like, what did you want to be? She was laughing because she was like, oh yeah, I wanted to be a ballerina. I wanted to be a lawyer. I wanted to be the president. So we were kind of chuckling, but she said she did remember when she was 6, she wanted to be a writer, but she kind of pushed it aside because she heard when she was that young that her favorite writer was only getting paid 25 cents per article or something like that. She's like, I can't pay my bills like that.
Yeah.
And so maybe like just a simple quick advice is think back when you're 5 or 6, like what did you want to be? And then try to like see what part of that dream that you like and how can you adapt it to do it today. Like I wanted to be like Paul Abdul and be a professional choreographer and whatnot. So when I was in high school, I did do the choreography for the cheer squad for 2 years, and so it's not on a bigger scale, like, oh yeah, I'm doing like famous people, but I can still do it. So are you on Twitch?
No, I'm not.
So I just signed on Twitch because I did an interview with someone who's on Twitch and I thought, oh, it's all video gamers. Well, while we're on the live interview on Instagram, he showed me that there are people doing live food shows and I'm a foodie. I was like, after I got off that call, I signed up. I'm like, oh, I'm down. I'm down. I'm going to use it because you can do talk shows on there.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, because it's cool. A live stream. So it initially started as for video gamers, but people are doing their own talk shows on there, podcasts, and they're also doing like Food Network. If you're like arts and craft kind of person, and some people just go in to watch, but you can actually start your own. So I signed up because I love food and I love music. And so I mine's is Aloha Mommy. But it is such a beautiful world in there. It's better than TikTok. I was like,
yeah. For me, I mean, I started TikTok in the pandemic last year.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know lie. It's the content has evolved exponentially since that small period of time.
It's
because
when I dancing.
No, because when I got on there in around March last year, I saw a lot of like skits. I saw a lot of good content. Like nowadays it's just people dancing. And then I have nothing with the dancing. It's cool, but the thing is like
it was different.
No, I don't. For me, I'm like you and me. We're content creators. Like I love to see pure creativity. Not just everybody doing the same thing because it's a trend.
Yeah, I don't like to follow everything.
Because I'll scroll. I mean, I'll go to the For You page, and it's like it's the same dance, the same content, but everybody does their own way. But I'm like, But it's like it gets boring because like, okay, I've seen that a million times already, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first started last year in March, I would see different types of video, different type of content. So it was really cool to see people's creative ability and to express it. But I feel like it's now I think TikTok has started to blow up more than ever this last, I think 2020, because I didn't even know about TikTok before 2020.
Oh, I knew, but I was scared because it seemed intimidating.
But
I learned from a grade schooler about TikTok.
But it's crazy. But I mean, when I found out TikTok's been around for a while, and TikTok evolved from Musically, the app called Musically, and then it changed from then evolved. Then they changed from Musically to TikTok. But I was so surprised, like, because I'm really deep into the social media game. I was like, how come I never knew about TikTok this whole time? And then, but because of the pandemic, everybody was forced to go on social media.
Find somewhere to
go besides Instagram and Facebook. So that's why I found about TikTok, and I saw that platform. So that be it. But the reason why I love TikTok for me is just like Instagram is more my motivational, professional side. But for me, but at the end of the day, I'm still a Polynesian, so I'm still like one of the. I have a sense of humor. I laugh and joke all the time. So TikTok is where I can express my music, my humor,
you can be weird and silly and crazy.
It's cool.
Yeah. Like you can be professional, non-professional, and still be silly, and people are cool. But when you take your videos and you send it over to Facebook and Instagram, they're like, "What the heck is all of this?" Like, it's just funny.
I know. I actually post all my content, all platforms. I don't really, but it's just like I just want to put it out there. But But I love TikTok because like it brings out your funny side, your humor, your kid side of you. Your inner child, like
inner child, guys.
Because I feel like we're all still kids.
if you're anybody like who thought, oh, I want to do Instagram or Facebook, or Instagram, Facebook, or TikTok, and you're like on the fence, I'd say just open it up. Don't post a picture or anything. Just start it. And just watch. Like I tell people, just watch. Like for like a good week or 3, just watch everybody else, and then find your way. You'll figure it out. But just have fun with it. You'll look at Will's and you look at mine's, and we're just ourselves. You don't have to prove you have money, because I don't have choke money. I'm a single parent, and I have money, but I'm not like dollar bills, y'all. Dollar, you know what I mean, kind of thing. And so just be yourself, and your tribe will find you. I would say if you want, just do Instagram. You can use the hashtags and find people like you. Do you like art? You like music? Just look up the hashtag with what makes you happy, and then you'll find people like you, and then they'll inspire you to start doing what you used to love doing.
And for everybody out there that wants to make content and be a content creator, because one thing I do get, and I'm sure you get this a lot, like there's always going to be people that don't like or value or appreciate your content. There's always going to be people that probably gonna get messages. I get messages all the time from people like, "Oh, your content sucks. I don't get what you're saying. They don't believe the things
you're putting out,
especially when it comes to my own personal opinion or my perspective on things." And I just tell people, look, at the end of the day, like that's if you want to put content out there, just don't. If somebody disagrees or doesn't like what you put out, just understand that not everybody is gonna see things the way you see it. Like you just said it best. You're gonna attract your tribe. There will be people that will see it and they'll be like, "Oh wow, that's just like me."
No, and like you're gonna find people exactly like you. You're gonna feel so happy, like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, of course, there's always be people, and sometimes people like message me, and I just tell them, look, I understand your point of view and where you're coming from, but I always tell them, look, if you don't like the content, you don't have to watch it.
Yeah. So Gary Vee, because we both like Gary Vee.
Yeah.
What he learned is when people go out of their way to criticize you, you gotta have compassion on them.
Yes.
Because obviously they must not be happy. Because when you're happy, you don't have time to criticize people.
Yes.
But the fact that someone would take the time to watch your video,
the whole video, by the way,
the whole video, or read your whole post and then turn around and criticize you, is they're not happy with themselves. So they're gonna try to bring down you, who's that person who's trying to make effort.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't it's called block or delete if you don't want to, and don't give energy to them, because life is short and not everybody wants to see other people happy, and it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah. For me, it's funny when you talk about block. I've blocked a lot of people. Because no, for me, I appreciate when people comment, whether it's negative or not, if they have their own opinion or see things. But I will actually, I don't know about you, how you respond to people, but I only respond to people that I can see that willing to communicate in a healthy way. So if you can express your opinion without degrading and attacking me, then I know that the way you communicate comes from a healthy place.
Good heart, yeah.
Yeah, from a good heart. Like you're passionate about your own opinion just as much as I totally respect and understand that. But when people are like send a negative comment and then they're attacking me, and I was like, oh no, that's just hate and insecurity right there, because
energy. You feel their energy.
Yeah, you have to.
Positive or negative.
You can't say your point of view without attacking me personally as a person. So I'm not gonna even reciprocate that back to you. I just choose either to not say anything or block. And I remember I blocked somebody, and they made a fake account just to come back and send me a DM, which I didn't accept, but it explain why you blocked me. How you can't deal with you can't argue with I forgot what he said. He said like, oh, you can't deal with the heat. You can't deal with somebody strong mind. You just want people to follow. But I didn't even respond back. But for me, I was like, no, I don't communicate that way. So if you can't
give energy to them,
if you can't have a healthy discussion with me, then I'm not going to respond back to you, because I know that all you're going to do is just attack me and not even having the conversation. I don't know if do you experience that in your own pages? People like,
nah, mine's is more real life. People who don't agree with me is more real life people than people on social media.
Yeah,
because they're like, why are you posting that kind of stuff? Like, because it's my page. Like, as you guys, when you're in your 20s, you're trying to figure yourself out. When you're in your 30s, you kind of get it. When you're 40, I don't like this, and you start saying no and not feeling bad already. Like, nope, you want to go? Nope. Why? Because I don't want to. When you get to the 50s, you're laughing at people already, because you're like, no. And so it's good as you get older, because you find yourself, and you don't put up with BS. Like, you don't. You're like, deal with it, because this is my life. And so so I'm 45. Next month I turn 46, and I'm cool. I'm like fine wine, guys. Fine wine, nada.
Hey, that's how to do it. Age is just a number. Age is just a number nowadays. That's funny. Like, no, it's funny. Like Gary Vee talked about that on one of his content. He said that we're so caught up now with the age thing, right? With the age, that the closer you get to 30, if you're 30, you're old.
I feel like you're running out of time.
Running out of time, and then he broke it down as well. I just want to break it down to everybody. The reason why we feel like that 30 is old, and then 40 you're like you're extremely old, and then 50 you're a grandpa, right? The reason why we feel that is because culturally over time, back in the day, like 100 years ago, the life expectancy for somebody was like 50.
Wow.
Right. Back if you look, so like when by the time you got to 30, you're already halfway through your life already. So you're like, so of course 30 seems old if like you're gonna die in the next 25 years, because that was like the life expectancy. But now, because of technology and in society, evolution society, people are gonna live up to 80 to 90. Sometimes I see people every day like reaching 100, 100 years old. So because
50 is like still midway.
Yeah, so like 40, you're not even a halfway point yet. So you still got a lot of life to live, and then that's something that we gotta change, because we still have the perception of how we see our time of our age is still the old ages that have been passed down from society from generation to generation. But yeah, it's like if you're 20, you're 30, you're still even 40, they're still really young. Because Gary Vee's like 42, 43, I think. And he's like, man, I feel like a kid. I feel like I'm still a big kid right now. I'm like, I want, maybe when I hit 60, maybe I'm getting old. But it's just like, for everybody out there, if you're 20, you realize you're gonna live for another 50 years.
Yeah. I mean, so if you're my age, okay, so guys, if you're watching this and you're in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I can tell you right now, if you have a grandkid or you have a kid or a little cousin's kid who's like kind of like, when you meet certain people, like my cousin's kids, they all like music, they like to dance. When I hang with them, they hype me out. I'm like, oh my God, this is awesome. So like, if you can identify people who are younger than you that resonate with you, that's who you hang with to generate your dreams, because it's fun. Like,
Yeah.
I miss my sister, guys, but when I'm dancing, I feel a connection to her because she was a dancer. Like, she danced in a dance team, a dance squad. And so when I dance, I connect to her. And so you just gotta do what makes you happy. Comedy and music is what helps me with my grief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep dancing. So keep dancing. So keep dancing.
I'll try to get into duet me, guys, for the dance. We'll see.
We'll
I already
see.
tried to do the hair one.
That was funny, by the way. Yeah, I think I know you had some topics that you wanted to talk about at the end, but I'm sure, but just like looking back at the podcast, I know you talked a lot about those topics. I know about the culture of silence, getting professional help, and then the cultural mesh when it comes to relationships. I know you brought that up a lot of it during the talks, so I don't know if you wanted to.
Oh, I know what we did. Okay, so you told me let's talk about dating or marriage, right?
Oh yeah.
So what's hard about being Polynesian is if someone else is Polynesian, they're related to you.
Yeah.
So it's like, you fall in love or you start liking some guy and then you go home and they're like, who's the parents? Who's the grandparents? Like, that's our issue here too. Because I'm mixed race. So anybody who's Filipino, Hawaiian, I'm like, they're related to me. So I married someone who was out of my race and not from my state. So my son's dad is African American, he's Black.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, cool, we're not related. Like, yay. And then like we met in church. But what happened was my mannerisms is very local, like, so I like to eat rice with all my meals. When I get upset, I say the word bra. Like, instead of saying brother, I'm like, bra. And then I start talking just like pidgin English. Well, he was living in Hawaii for 10 years and he knows that bra is just a terminology, like that, right? Well, he was like, don't call me a woman's undergarment. I'm like, I did not, you know what I mean? And so it became a culture clash for me because I couldn't speak pidgin English because he was acting like he didn't understand, but he did. And then he didn't want me to cook rice every day. And it's like, for me, it was like, that's a big deal. You know what I mean? And so I'm not prejudiced, I'm open, but I think that's the challenge of when you're dating, like, pay attention to culture values, because if you guys don't have the core values, it could be different ethnicities, different culture, but if you guys don't have the core, like, about respect in relationships, how do you speak to one another, how do you manage money, everything's gonna go out the door. I don't care how much in love you are, if you guys don't have like core friendship and core values, it's gonna go out the door. And that's all I have to say about that.
I know it's when I see, because I have a lot of family members that the Polynesian, but they marry interracially with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean I see it. I mean, I can understand why both sides, because I feel like for me, like, whoever I love is whoever they may be. I don't care what race they are. I'm just gonna go with it. Yeah, that's just me. But I do understand that being Tongan and the Tongan traditions and the food I like to eat, and the stuff I like to do. It'd be cool. I can see the value of marrying the same race, because they understand everything I do. I don't really have to explain anything, because they understand all my mannerisms and how I live my life. And I know that can be a challenge if you marry somebody else that's a different race than you, because like you have to really take some time explaining a lot of the things, and that can sometimes cause a lot of conflict. And also, I do see a lot of a lot of Polynesian girls, they get it goes both ways, but like they get mad when Polynesian men marry like a white girl.
Palangi?
Yeah, Palangi, right?
Yeah.
Why are all Polynesian men marrying white girls, wearing when the Palangi girls, and they don't want to date our Polynesian sisters? I'm just gonna give you guys perspectives. Sometimes depending on how you grew up. Go ahead.
Be careful what you say.
No,
okay, go ahead.
No, it's, what I hear from my friends, sometimes like the culture can be too much for sometimes when it comes to the obligations and the responsibility that comes with the culture. In Tongan we call it kavenga, which means like responsibility when it comes to marriages, when it comes to church, when it comes to the things that we have to provide.
Oh, they want to break away.
It's just sometimes guys, it's too much. And but like I say, it really, really depends on how you grew up with the culture. Because I grew up with the culture and I love the culture, but I've seen sometimes, the stuff, the cultural responsibilities, it can be overwhelming for sometimes, especially financially, because, there's always some event or function that's going on. And you're Polynesian, like we have to chip in.
Right.
You chip in and just send money back home to the islands, or send money to for church function.
I'll be devil's advocate for the women. Why? Okay, I understand the commitment you guys have for family, right? But if there's a woman who's another Tongan, you guys not related, how come she can't have an opportunity to get to know you equally as you with a Palangi woman? If she's not related to you and she lives in America, how come she can't have the opportunity to get to know?
If she's not related to you?
I think that's the frustration because I watch the videos on TikTok.
Yeah.
The Polynesian women and even like African American women, they talk about this. Like, why is it that you can't consider the women of your own ethnicity or your own race and you just go to the other side without giving them a chance? I think that's the thing that angers them, is like, you didn't even give us a look, like you make us feel ugly, like we're overlooked.
So no, so the thing is, like, that's not, I understand but that's not all in all cases, because I know a lot of women, because you just said it best to yourself. You're like, you didn't want to date because immediately when you met somebody with a Filipino or something, you already thought that they were a family. So that could be one factor. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why men choose to go outside the race. Like I said, like for me, the same thing. Like when I prefer to choose date other girls outside of my race, because I just don't want to deal with the finding out with the family. I just don't want to deal with it. I don't want to go with somebody and then later find out, oh my God, like
it's a cousin.
It's my cousin. And that also comes with a set of problems of people thinking I'm trying to be with my cousins. I don't want that in my life. I don't need the extra negativity.
Right.
To be known as be with my cousin. So that's another factor. But also, like I said, there's some guys, my friends, like they're just tired of the cultural thing can be too much for them because they grew up like that. Mm-hmm. So it'd be nice. It's just nice to be with another race, or of a white girl, because they can just be their own little family. They don't have to worry about any obligation. They don't have to worry about any kind of responsibility from the family. They can just focus on their own little family and live their happily and create a little happy life, and that's it. I'm trying to think of all the reasons what my friends tell me.
Well, can you tell your friends that I said to give like the Polynesian girls, a chance to express to them their frustration about being Polynesian and have an open dialogue, because they're assuming that if they hook up with another Polynesian girl, that they're gonna be sucked into that. What if the Polynesian girl wants to get out of that and have their own family?
And also,
I'm not talking about you. I'm just saying in general.
No. I'm not glad to give that perspective. But also, like, for my friends, like, because the with Polynesian girls, it's so I'm trying to, okay, let me articulate this. It doesn't sound bad. So no, so like when you go into a relationship with Polynesian girls, right? You're not just dating them; you're dating their whole family.
Well, that's what my ex-husband said. That's why.
Right. So like, you can't just. So you can't just like date them and if it doesn't work out, it's cool, move on, right? Because if you like, if I date any other race besides, like, if I date a white girl, right? If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Then we just move on happily, move on with our separate ways.
Like a clean break.
Clean break. But the thing is, if you date a Polynesian girl, not only number one, you're dating their family, right? Number two, the whole community knows. Everybody knows. and if you and of course if it doesn't work out, right? Everybody's gonna assume, oh my God, you probably didn't treat her right. You probably she has brothers. Oh, what happened? He didn't treat you right. You know, he didn't. You know what I'm saying? There's always a worst case scenario.
No, I know what you're saying because it's real in Hawaii.
Yeah, right. It's like everybody.
I know, but what if we just want to marry our Polynesian guys, but then they don't give us a chance? That's the thing.
No, that's the thing. It's like you're marrying the entire community, her family circle, her community circle, her church circle. And now everyone's watching what you're doing, and if it doesn't work out,
then it comes back to self-confidence.
I know. No, I get that. But what I'm saying is, it's for guys that they just want a normal relationship.
No, I think, and whatever. I think for those guys who don't even try to give a chance, it's laziness on their part.
No, I get that.
Because if you're like legit, like you love somebody and you legit dealing with the brothers and the uncles and like that's not gonna bother you because you genuinely love that person. I get that. Fire for them.
No, I also get that. I understand that, right? But but it's also good to understand how much you can take.
Like if the family's talking, you're like, oh,
yeah,
like she's gorgeous and all, but whoa.
Yeah. I mean, I love her, but damn, that it's just for some men, some guys they know they can't take it, and they'll just prefer to be in a relationship where it's only between them, and no outside forces, no outside input. I don't hear anything. I need to hear anything from their auntie or their uncle.
Hear something funny? So my ex-husband, now that we're divorced, he tells people like, don't ever date a Polynesian girl, like a local girl, because then you're gonna have to deal with the family, right?
Yeah.
He remarried. He married white.
See, that's what I'm saying.
It is what it is.
Yeah. So it's just when like I said, it really depends on how you grew up, because some men, like I said, you said it perfect, confidence, right? So like some Polynesian men grew up and they're confident about their culture, they're confident about themselves, and they love it. So like they have when they date Polynesian women, like they don't see that as an obstacle.
Yeah.
But then some guys,
I think, as women, we have to realize the struggle is real for a guy wanting to date us and dealing with our siblings and our uncles and our dads and stuff like that. So like we have to find ourselves and be willing to break away temporarily so that we can build our relationship before we draw them back in, and stop tattling about what's going on and then making them hate your partner and then wonder why the partner leaves you.
So because I've dated with some girls, and then they have like a lot of brothers and siblings, and then I remember like didn't work out. It didn't work out. Everybody saw me as this as this bad person, and I didn't even do anything. It just didn't work out for us. It's just like, but that's always the perception, right? Something, so I was like, I broke her heart. It did, exactly. Oh, what did you do?
Like, wait a minute, she broke up with me.
What? I didn't do anything. It just didn't work. It just didn't work out. It
just
didn't work
out.
So it's like, So I mean, but like I said, I'm just expressing a different side. A lot of females. See,
and that's cool. It's just I see it pop up a lot. Why?
Yeah. I see on TikTok. Oh, why did Polynesian man with the white girl
and stuff like that?
It's just that's I feel like I mean I could be wrong. Like I'm just saying from my own experience from my friends is like dating a white girl.
That's what they said. Yeah, not everybody.
It's not everybody feels the same, but for them it was less baggage. It was just less baggage. That's what
Women,
they said.
You're not baggage.
I'm saying exactly.
Expressing other people's opinions.
Just to make it clear. But like you said, like when you truly love somebody, then you're willing to take on that because you care for that person.
But again, that's why you do what you do, is because we're having open discussions, because people are set in their ways and they need to realize, you gotta let people date and live their life instead of trying to control, like, don't hurt my sister, don't hurt my brother. You know what I mean? Because it goes both ways, girls and guys. The sisters will jump in too.
Absolutely true. But I'm saying is I have met some Polynesian girls, like, they have they don't know the boundaries between inclusiveness with me. Like they always have to tell always have to tell, like everybody or like,
What
and
did
then
you're dating?
our dating life. I was like, I was telling you, I understand family is a big thing, but can we just keep the things that we talk about between us?
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
and some girls are no, if I have to, if you're not cool with me telling my mom, my family, whatever, then you're against me and the family. And I'm like, okay, I guess deuces. But I'm like, I was like, yeah, I feel like that as the things that we talked about, discussed in our relationship should be kept between us. And then it should be talked about or whatever.
Yeah.
Or I don't want to make a mistake, and knowing that if I make a mistake, it's going to be talked about.
Yeah.
If I make a mistake, let's talk about it. Let's come together, figure it out.
Yeah.
But I don't need to know that 5 of your brothers are going to look for me because I did something wrong.
Yeah. So I talked to my grandpa before he passed away. He was 82. And I said, Papa, what does it take to have a great marriage? Because he was married for 52, 53 years.
Yeah.
And my grandpa's a man of few words. And he said, respect.
Yeah.
Like if you guys respect each other, you're not going to try to get other people to not like you because you guys have a disagreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, I remember, and I think the biggest one I've heard from a lot of Polynesian girls, like if you don't accept, it's like if you don't, what's the word? If you don't love or accept my family, then this is never going to happen. We're just like, for me, it's like, I don't know, I understand family is, but I feel like if you truly love somebody and your family is being toxic or mistreated, then I feel like it's your responsibility to step up and tell your family members, hey, that's not cool. That's my girlfriend. That's my wife.
That's my husband. My wife.
Yeah, you should. I don't believe in allowing your family members to treat them however they want to, because they're family. And I've known a lot of girls like that. Look, this is how my family is. If you can't take it, then we can't be together. I'm like, oh, okay. You show me my worth and my value where you sit, where I sit. And I guess it's good because I know I love my family, but if they don't show respect to the person I'm with, I will step up and tell her, no, this is not cool. You got so, and I see that a lot with a lot of Polynesian girls. And so like I said, guys, it's just a perspective, healthy discussion. There's no love lost to my Polynesian sisters. You guys
we wanted to talk about it.
You guys are all beautiful. I'm just saying it's a struggle, y'all. So we gotta come together and figure this out.
Yeah. Maybe that's something me and him can revisit and do a panel for open discussion, and then open dialogue.
And also, if you guys have some comments and some thoughts, I'll drop a comment on the comment section. I would definitely want to hear.
Girls, I got you.
Your perspectives on it. All right, but I guess we've come to the end of the podcast. It's been great. It's a great podcast. It was great, by the way. A lot of fun, a lot of good stories, and I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today, and thank you for sharing your story and opening yourself up to everybody. And I always tell people, a lot of people don't realize how much courage that takes for anyone to share their life story and open up yourself, not only for yourself, but the fact that you did it today, not only for yourself, but for people out there to help them in their life. I feel like that's a very special gift that you were able to bless us with today. So thank you so much for your love and support. Big hug. Polynesian hug.
I know one day I'll see you, hopefully, because of this pandemic.
Yeah. So thank you so much for sharing my story. So the one thing I always ask every single guest at the end is if you can just share some final thoughts, some final words to everybody that's watching, and that we can end off the podcast with that.
Yeah, I just want you guys all to know that you guys are all valuable, and that you're a champion. Before you're even born, you're a champion. And you have nothing to prove to no one. That's all. And I send my love. And if you need an auntie, a mom, whatever, to reach out to, if you're wanting to pursue a small business, or if you're having a hard time with your mental health or grief, you can just send me a message. But not everybody's on social media. So my email is healingwithallohapodcast@gmail.com. But you can reach out to me, guys. I'm the most compassionate, patient person that will be there to support you.
Yes, and please follow her. I'll have her information on my page. So follow her on all the platforms. It's great content, always great vibes. So definitely a good follow. All right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it off. Stop it, and I'll talk to you right after.
And we'll talk. Okay.
Give me 1 second.